worried about this. If you've been following me, you know that when I did a few reactions to all those trailers that were released on Inside Xbox, I expressed my concerns about how the gap in graphics has gotten smaller and smaller between generations. And I was concerned about that because some of the game, look, I enjoyed some of the gameplay, or lack thereof. I enjoyed some of the trailers, let's say that. But there were people saying that, like, okay, you know what I mean, about some of the games, like, was this a PS3 or PS4 game? Like, what is it? Early Xbox One game? Like people were talking trash on some of them. Now, some of them I think really were unwarranted. It was just like, come on, man, you're exaggerating. These games look good, but I'm not as wowed as I thought I would be. Scorn, the Medium, a couple others, but anyway, so let's see what one of my favorite gaming channels, IGN, has to say about this.
The recent Xbox Series X third-party gameplay showcase was mostly met with disappointment. According to a poll on IGN, nearly 75% of readers would have ranked it a 6 or below on the IGN scale. That's less because the games themselves didn't seem cool, a lot of them did, and more because our first proper glimpse at next-gen gameplay was, well, a little anticlimactic. But I may have some unfortunate news for anyone who had hoped to see a graphical leap on par with past console generations. You may need to lower your expectations. Don't get me wrong, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 games will definitely be prettier than the current gen, and Microsoft and Sony's first-party games will undoubtedly prove that. But be prepared for the majority of the next-gen games revealed over the next few months to look like they could potentially be current-gen, at least on the surface.
That's what I thought about this. When I saw that, I was like, looks like it's PS4.
Graphics have plateaued somewhat, specifically when it comes to immediately obvious improvements, especially when shown off in an E3-style reveal trailer where we're used to seeing the most polished, unrealistically dolled-up version of a game anyway. As we covered in April, the Series X's 12 teraflops aren't just about better graphics, they're about better simulations too. Better lighting, hair, water, and other little real-time touches. Those significant improvements will still wow, but are far more subtle than the extra polygons and higher resolution textures that came with previous generational leaps.
More subtle things that are better.
Additionally, the PS4 Pro and Xbox One have already enabled the use of 4K mid-generation. With 8K still a little more than a marketing buzzword, the PS5 and Series X don't currently have a higher resolution standard that we haven't already seen. Their extra power will mean frame rates get faster, which is a big deal, but it's also not something that is easily conveyed in a trailer. There are undoubtedly graphical improvements happening, but they end up being somewhat invisible ones. And it's not just that those upgrades will be harder to notice, it's also that the current bar is set extremely high. This generation is still impressing us.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
PCs with RTX graphics cards have given us a glimpse of what the next gen could look like for over a year now. Even ignoring that, this is surely the most graphically impressive final year of a console cycle ever. If last year's demos are to be believed, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be jaw-droppingly gorgeous.
Yeah.
And even in 2018, Red Dead Redemption 2 was making landscapes with lighting that I didn't think was possible on current tech. It's just going to be hard for next-gen reveals to top games we're all still excitedly waiting for.
Yeah.
That goes double for launch titles, where developers haven't had years to work with this new tech and usually have to make sure it runs on the current generation as well. And I'm sure they'll only get better. If this generation has proved anything, it's that developers certainly know how to make the most of their hardware over time.
That's true.
But for the first time in potentially the history of video games, better graphics isn't the most hype-worthy angle of a new console launch. Excluding Nintendo, of course, who stopped prioritizing raw graphical power years ago.
Yeah.
Instead, we should be most excited for internal upgrades, like the lightning-fast load times built-in SSDs will provide. It's harder to hype up something like that in a trailer.
I am most excited about that.
Far more than better hair physics ever could. I can't tell you how excited I am that we may never have to shimmy through a loading screen disguised as a stack of boxes ever again.
Yes, I am much more excited
There
about
are tons of reasons
the
to be
load
excited about
times
the improvements the Xbox Series
than
X and
graphics.
PlayStation 5 will bring. But oh my god, this looks unbelievable! Probably won't be the biggest one at launch. And again, Microsoft and Sony will almost certainly prove me wrong in that regard once first-party gameplay is revealed. But those insanely refined, built specially for the system examples will likely be the exception rather than the rule. So for now, don't expect next-gen gameplay to equal some mind-blowing thing we've never seen before. Odds are it will be something very similar to what we've seen, but with tons of subtle improvements that are hard to truly appreciate until you're sitting down and experiencing them for yourself.
Yeah.
This holiday season will probably look very familiar.
Maybe if you only see
That
them
doesn't
side
mean
by
it
side.
will be extremely exciting. For more next-gen consoles, check out our most recent episode of Next Gen Console Watch, our show all about that stuff. And for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.
Yeah, I can't wait to play games and not deal with load screens. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to take it back to the cartridge days. I'm serious. Oh God, I'm going to be so happy with that. After that, graphics was what I was most excited about. But I guess we'll just have to see. We will just have to see. You know what I mean? Somehow I feel like these SSD drives are going to be, they're going to be game changers with this next generation. And I think I have a hunch that we're going to be really happy with these new games. So post your comments down below. Let me know what you all think about this whole situation. Are we going to get a big graphical leap or no? I don't think so. That rhymed. I hate to play. I hate the game. Bars! So let me know what y'all think. 10 million subscribers. Woo!